Welcome back to Women's Wealth, The Middle Way, the show that answers your questions about work, money, and family. My name is Susan McGlory Michael, and I am the CEO and founder of Glen Eagle, a wealth management firm in New Jersey.
My name's Carol Ann Fernandez, and I'm the COO of Glen Eagle. I'm very excited to have our guest today, Jeanette Prenger, founder and CEO of Echo Select. She started her company while raising her teenage sons and turned her vision of creating a meaningful impact into a thriving business built to support her family and employees for generations. Welcome, Jeanette.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. I think it might just be helpful if you wanted to just give our listeners a little bit of background about yourself and what led you to even start Echo.
Thank you so much for asking me to be on the podcast today. I'm really excited to share snippets of my story because I don't think women sometimes feel like they can raise a family and maybe venture to do something on their own. I began Echo Select in the mid-90s, actually incorporated in August of 1995. And there's probably a lot of people that weren't even born back then, but that was at the dawn of the internet. We weren't even using it the way we are today. It was still considered IP addresses. I worked for a company that at that time was a leading telecommunications and technology company, and that was Sprint. And I started working there because I was recruited as a software developer, which I majored in management information systems in college. So I started off as a software developer and then worked my way into management. While at Sprint, the team that I led put in the first corporate repository for Sprint local telephone division, Sprint long distance telephone division, which nowadays nobody knows the difference between local and long distance. Sprint Enterprise, which is all your back office systems like HR and accounting and finance, as well as this new company they had bought called Sprint PCS, which eventually ended up the Sprint that people may remember and eventually bought by T-Mobile. My group won an award for putting in this huge corporate repository with all the data elements, and that was in anticipation of a very big project that companies around the world were getting ready to do, and that was Y2K. So because of the turn of the century, there were a lot of computer systems with customized code in which they hard-coded the century. So 1995 would be just forever considered 1995, not taking into consideration that in 5 years, you're moving into the year 2000, and that hard code 19 was no longer applicable. So there was a lot of effort around that. In addition to new technologies, they were offering greater speed and opportunity to take advantage of the bleeding edge technology around the internet. So I started Echo Select not because I'm just this great innovator or saw this need, but because I hired somebody onto my team who came to me and said, "Why are you not doing this?" And what he was talking about was the people that I was contracting or hiring to consult with to get our project completed. And because I had a technical background as well as pretty good soft skills, he thought that I would be great at starting my own technology services company. And so that was the birth of Echo Select, was somebody else's idea that I ran with.
Wow, that's great. And that's really cool that he saw that your skill set and was able to encourage that. I feel like there's sometimes people just come into your path that you don't even expect. So that's a great story. I know I am a mom working and running our own family business, so I know how hard that is. And one of the big parts of your story is also balancing motherhood and launching a business. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that and how it influenced your start of your business.
Back then, there was no work from home. There was very slow responses if you did even try to connect a computer to your server at your workplace. My boys were only 12 and 14 when I started the company. So one in middle school, one in high school. I just had to learn to carry on doing some of the things I had done in corporate. So you mentioned you're a working mother too. As a working mother, whether you're an entrepreneur or you work for somebody, you have to just figure out how you get everything done. If that means after the kids go to bed, you throw in a load of laundry that you're going to throw in the dryer the next morning, or you put the dishes going that you're going to unload,
Yep.
or get stuff prepped in the crock pot. So it was all of those things. And probably the thing that I didn't realize was that I would have more hours working on my own business than what I did actually in corporate. And I worked a lot of times 55, 60 hours a week. And so I already had a supportive husband who helped with the kids because I made more income than he did. And so he was always there, and our lifestyle really didn't change, except for I was able to be home more when I wasn't being a billable, and that time was spent on maybe working on business development plans, sales calls, meeting with people. And honestly, my motherhood was greatly enhanced by the partner I chose. I'm proud to say my husband and I just celebrated 45 years of being married. I didn't say 45 happy years. No, we really have a great partnership, and I know that it's very difficult for some people to get that type of support. And I do recommend that you take a look at the support you have, that you can commit to, that you can count on when you start taking a look at an endeavor that's outside of what you currently do in your present lifestyle. So if you're already working, being an entrepreneur shouldn't be that different.
That's great, and congratulations on your anniversary. I do think it's so important to have help and support, especially when launching a business, because there are a lot of unique parts to it. I know one of the things that is unique to your business, or that you were always very focused on, was making sure you were creating an impact and not only looking at the financial sides of things. Obviously, that's important, but what does that impact part of your business really mean to you and the company?
I think right from the get-go, the first impact that I saw when I created the business plan was I could create my own destiny by offering what I thought would be a better value to clients who at that time were looking to modernize their legacy IT systems, right? Right off the bat, it's like, I can give them a better value. I'm a technical person. This is what I bring to the table. But then as I started to hire on more people, be able to have more billable consultants, my revenue grew. It became more. I was able to create a better life than what I could have had I stayed in corporate, not just for my own family, but also for the families of those employees that I had, and also super important to my company's culture, being able to give back to the community. So entrepreneurship ended up being not just a path to economic freedom and opportunity, but it also allowed us to really give exceptional service to our clients, and they saw how our culture was about being able to give our best, not only to them, but also to the community.
I think that's so important, especially when you are a business owner, making sure that your employees are getting a good lifestyle and they tend to give you back more to your community and to your business when they enjoy what they're doing. So that's great to hear that you're so focused on that. I know we talked a little bit about you being a mom. One of the things that I did want you to touch on was, have you involved your sons into the building of this family legacy? And if so, how have you done that?
Well, my boys were 12 and 14 when I started the company. And my oldest son, when he went into college and declared his major, expressed an interest in working for my company. And from the get-go, I had a heart-to-heart conversation with both of them that they were expected to earn a 4-year degree, and they were also going to be expected to work at least 2 publicly traded companies before they would work for me. And the reason I wanted them to work for 2 publicly traded companies is that when you are working in a big corporation, there's a lot of best practices. You can also see where there's some waste, but you're not coming into a small business and thinking you can just leave whenever you want to. I don't know about you, but there were many a times where I had to pick up kids by 6 p.m. and I had a last-minute 4:30 meeting being called, and I'm scrambling to make sure somebody could pick up my children from daycare. you have to be able to roll with that when you work in a big company. And I did not want them to think just because their mother was running the company that they could get away with things other employees couldn't. And then once they met those parameters, both of them did come in and work in different roles. They both had their strengths and things that they do very well. And I've only have 2 sons, and they love and respect each other very much. And I gave them the space to grow into what they naturally pivoted towards. My oldest son is our president and COO, and we have a succession plan there. And there's not micromanagement, but there's some guidance and coaching. And our younger son works in a different division, and he's a leader there. And so I feel really good that I was able to let them take on challenges, have them see what they liked best, and make sure that the company wouldn't suffer just because there were family members in it. They were expected to pull their weight.
That's so funny that you say working in other companies. I joined second generation family business as well, and my mom started it, and it was the same way. I have 3 brothers, only one other brother besides me is in the company. She always said you had to go get the school of hard knocks, which is basically go work at other bigger firms, and then if you still want to come back, come join this company. But I do think there is a lot that you learn from other places that you can bring back and help the company grow, and you just understand a little bit more about business. It was funny to hear you talking about that because it's the same way that we were taught. I'm on the other end, though. I'm the one joining. So I guess.
But then, don't you feel that was
yep.
valuable? I
think it was so valuable. Yeah.
Yeah, for family-owned businesses, really making sure that next generation understands this is not a piece of cake. And by the time they come in, whether it's a year or 2 later or 20 years later, there's a lot that has been done. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that they had to suffer through, you know?
I think it also helps with the employees because you're not coming in and just being handed a company, right? You have to have the background, and then you have to work your way up even when you join. So I always found it was helpful in that sense too, because you tend to be respected by the other employees in the company as well as when you don't walk into your parents' firm and start running it right away.
Right.
I know we're running out of time here, so I'll just ask one more question. What advice would you give to maybe some other mothers with an entrepreneurial dream who haven't gotten as far as you and are feeling a little overwhelmed right now? What are some steps that maybe they can start just to try to explore that dream?
I love to dream big because I feel like if you reach for the stars, if you only hit the moon, you've still accomplished a lot. And for anybody who feels overwhelmed about anything, whether it's a personal or professional goal, my mantra is always, you eat an elephant 1 bite at a time. So don't let the size of your dream paralyze you. Break it down into manageable steps, and each day is about getting something done. So it's already hard enough being a mom. It takes time and patience, but being an entrepreneur is only all of those elements that you have of being a working mom. You're going to work really hard. It's going to take a strong support system, perseverance, and a lot of grit. And there's never going to be a perfect moment. I love to say we can have it all. It's just not always at the same time. So just start. Just like motherhood, it can be a little messy, but we do it every day. And we do great jobs some days and not so great jobs other days. Be kind on yourself and go and reach for those stars.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been so inspiring hearing you speak about the business, and I've just really enjoyed it because being in a family business myself, it's always fun to also hear how other people are doing it. But thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Of course, and thank you so much. I look forward to hearing all of your podcasts.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode of Women's Wealth, The Middle Way. Make sure to subscribe to us and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or your favorite podcast app. Join us for new episodes every other Wednesday. See you in 2 weeks.